And she's just not gender conforming enough for someone who called the cops on her. We've been having these bathroom conversations for a while. Started in 2016 with North Carolina restricting teenagers from being able to use the correct bathroom in schools, and it's just kind of spiraled out from there. But it actually started being an issue for people before the actual illegalities came up. Because remember, y'all, before 2016, when people started passing bathroom bills across the country, there weren't any legal limitations on who is allowed to use which public facilities. They're separated by men and women, and private businesses and institutions can go in and say like, hey, this is supposed to be a women's bathroom and you have short hair, force people to deal with the extra scrutiny on that. I don't really think in most places there have been any actual laws on the books about whether you're supposed to use one bathroom or another. That's why this conversation has been so frustrating, is because it already is legal for men to go in to women's rooms because there is no law against them doing that. That's why this shit is so frustrating, because, you know, why are you trying to make a law saying, oh, you know, with all these trans people around, men can just dress up like women and go into the women's room to assault women? Like, okay, but if that was going to happen, it already would be happening. So you're making up a problem that doesn't exist, right? That's part of why it's so frustrating. If you're enjoying the content, if you like the news that I bring you, hit the like button really quick, consider subscribing, clicking the bell for notifications, join the Discord if you want to, and consider dropping me a dono or becoming a Patreon member. This is my full-time job, is going over this news, understanding the laws, talking about it with you, and sharing this info and sharing this space with y'all. So if you appreciate it, I appreciate your likes and your appreciation. So this is a video from 2015. I remember this video when it came out. It's from ages ago, but I want you to know and understand that trans people are not the only people affected by these laws. In fact, we are probably not even going to be the people who are primarily impacted by these laws, because there aren't very many trans people compared to how many cisgender women there are who just are gender nonconforming, like who have short hair or who are into sports and are therefore muscular, or who dress in a way that is not feminine enough. The kind of people who are largely going to be impacted by bathroom bills are cisgender women who aren't gender conforming enough. While it should be good enough for you to know that this makes being trans dangerous, we are not the only people who are going to be affected by this. But like, yeah, I just want to say before we continue too far in this segment that I live in Kansas, and the law has recently been passed to restrict bathroom access, and even if it gets paused by the ACLU, and even if it gets struck down in the courts, what we're still going to be dealing with is this culture. This culture existed before any of these laws. This idea that you get to question who's in the bathroom, what they're doing, you know, what they have in their pants, disturbing people's peace while they're trying to just use the facilities. So what we are going to deal with still is that increased scrutiny. And I want you to see what that's like. I want you to know what happens. This is a cisgender lesbian. This is a cis woman who is, I guess, in line in the bathroom or maybe waiting for one of her friends to come out. And she's just not gender conforming enough for someone who called the cops on her. Let's go.
No ID. This is a girl, and you guys are harassing her because she's a dyke.
And I'm a fucking female.
This is a girl.
Do I have to tell you again?
You have ID?
No, I do not.
Get out. Get out. Get out. You got no ID, get out.
This is a cop, see the cop right there, demanding to see this woman's ID and ejecting her from the restroom, attempting to eject her from the restroom. They dropped the slur in there. She was saying like, you're bothering her because she's a dyke, like because she's a masculine lesbian. And that's like where we're at with this.
This is so sad.
She's trying to just ignore.
Oh, and she's a girl and you're yelling in her face. That's crazy. Don't worry, I got you.
On me again, bro.
Wow, look what you, oh, okay.
Get out, sir. Get out.
Man, that is your fucking girl. That is a girl.
Let's go. Let's go. You have no.
And like that's like the typical thing that I hear people say when they get accosted in the bathroom. Like butch women who get accosted in the bathroom usually say like, I'm a female, and it just does not get across to people. Just does not at all get across.
ID, let's go. Time to go, sir.
So you're saying you have to have an ID to go to the bathroom?
Get out of my face. Go. You can all leave if you want to.
We are all Like I said, this is a girl. Don't put your hands on a girl.
Let's go. Come on. No,
That's fucking. I don't.
So yeah, that's like a stressful minute-long video from years ago about, yeah, so like that's a male officer entering a female space in order to eject a cisgender female, literally needing an ID to use the bathroom. This is why I will never accept cops at Pride. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. They are fundamentally opposed to our interests, unfortunately. Like, there is no way to coexist with people whose job it is to be the gun pointed at your head on behalf of the state that rules over your life. To be clear, again, that's from like 2015. A cisgender female being ejected by a male cop and like putting hands on her, demanding to see her ID. And just to reinforce that point, I know that we already talked about it last week. I still need to put the video up on the channel. Hopefully it is by now if you're seeing this on YouTube in the future later, but like, Florida, having just passed an anti-trans bathroom bill, is also absolutely willing to throw cisgender people who are not conforming enough under the bus. Take a look at this. People accused of being trans in the bathroom in Florida could be forced to undergo DNA tests and genital exams. Look at this. If a trans person should be reported to the facility and refuse to leave or not comply with the law, penalties will be qualified as trespass. So this is basically establishing a crime where if you are in the opposite sex bathroom from what you were assigned at birth, like if you're a trans person using the correct bathroom for who you are as a human being, then you will be arrested for trespassing, potentially. And then the jail, obviously, according to Aaron Reed points out that they will probably be put in a jail not corresponding with their gender identity, which puts them in danger of risk of sexual assault. People using restrooms who are accused of being trans also will be obligated to undergo genitalia exams, DNA testing, and other invasive procedures. So if you are a cisgender person who is not gender conforming, if you're like that lesbian in the video we just watched, you would need to provide your identification. But if your ID says female and they're not convinced by that because you can legally have changed your ID in previously, they're going to say, well, I need to see your pussy. And then if you do submit to a genital exam, they might say like, well, you could have had a surgery. That could be a post-surgical vagina. Therefore, we actually need DNA testing. We need to do a internal exam to determine whether you have a uterus or not. This is not just going to affect trans people. They're just blatantly going, yeah, we don't care if you're cisgender. If you're gender nonconforming, then we are also going to put this scrutiny on you. It's not just limiting trans people who are medically transitioning. It is also limiting anyone who is transgressing whatsoever. So as usual, Florida just being absolutely ridiculous. And this is not even the only instance of gender nonconformity being policed in this way. We will continue talking about it in future segments. I think that I'm going to go ahead and wrap that right there because I don't know what else you can say. It's terrifying to not be allowed to use the bathroom. To think, my ID says male if I go into a female restroom because that's legally what I'm supposed to do. If there's scrutiny and someone sees male on my license, they're probably going to assume that I'm trans feminine. I'm a trans woman. And then I will be treated accordingly. And so like, in order for me to be safe, realistically, I'm going to have to go into men's bathrooms, which is against the law because that's what is the safest